Welcome to Inside the Firm, a podcast dedicated to small business owners and hosted by entrepreneurs, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko. Each week, they take you on their journey of how to start, run, and grow a business by bringing you inside their architecture and real estate development firm. Get a behind-the-scenes tour of how these business leaders manage their clients and foster company culture while creating new and innovative projects. And now your hosts, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko.
Al the Bitcoin bull, Gore. How the hell are you? It's been a couple weeks.
We haven't even talked about Bitcoin in so long.
Bitcoin's dead. Just kidding.
What's it at? 8.5? He'll tell us.
A price to buy. I'll tell you that much.
It's going to the moon. Ripple's going to the moon.
Ripple's going to the moon.
Dude, Ripple just donated $4 million to Ellen DeGeneres. And guess who gave it to her? Well, Ripple gave it to her. But who's that? That 70s show guy.
Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah.
For what?
So Ellen is like saving stuff.
Did you know Ashton Kutcher is saving stuff? He saved like 6,000 young girls from sex trafficking.
Good.
He's doing amazing stuff, seriously, private sector wise. I love it. Go for it, Ashton.
No, that's
crush it.
Good. That's really good. So, anyways, he went on. You know how Ellen just gives away money to everyone?
Sure.
Because
I don't know.
She's like Oprah, but white, I guess. I don't know. But a comedian. Anyways, Ashton and this other guy's like, you never ask for anything. And we know that you're going to Africa to do whatever she's doing. So Ripple gave her $4 million. And why I'm saying it's going to the moon is because Ashton, I think, was huge behind Twitter. And I think if Ashton is promoting it...
Oh, he is, absolutely.
Then he's going to buy your Ripple. You heard it here first.
Wow. People don't even know what we're talking about. It's a cryptocurrency. A lot of people don't like it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but they like it more than Bitcoin Cash.
Sure.
A lot more, maybe.
Yeah. We've lost the entire audience.
Back on subject. Hey, so I announced this yesterday. This has to do with architecture, business, and Revit. But I'm going to re-announce it in the beginning.
And if you were a student, check this out.
So I spent the majority of my mornings reformatting our training. The training that we've done at CU, University of Colorado Boulder, and the training that we do inside the firm. Literally what everyone has to take when they get hired here. And I broke it down into manageable chunks so that everything is like 3 to 8 minutes. I think there's one in the beginning and intro that's 20 minutes long. But basically, what this software does, and you do it online, is it tracks you. And then you can search for things if you forget. But the main difference...
It tracks your time and how long it took you to do it? Is that...
No, just let's say you started it because you need to relearn Revit.
Of course.
So let's say you have, half an hour in the morning and you get through the first two and you start the next one and you only get a third of the way done. You can just leave and close out and you come back and it says you were right here.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
Beautiful. Let me ask you this. Compared to how so right now, the way we teach the cabin is basically, I think it's 4 videos and they're each about an hour long. And one of the pieces of criticism we got from our students is that we need to break it into smaller chunks, which I wholeheartedly agree. I think it's cool that there is an option for maybe, those 1 hour videos because some people might resonate with them better. But did you is that kind of how you steered this? Is like you broke it into parts? So like maybe there's 10 videos that make up the hour. Is that how it works now?
Yeah, I broke it up not only because of that, but Evan Troxel told me to.
Good. Because
he has an online course. Git Method, it's for, oh man, you can look this up.
Form Z?
Form Z, there you go. So... Not only is it broken up, and then we've reached out to people and we've trained people before. So this isn't our first rodeo. But the other thing that they like about how we teach, and we kept this, is that by the end you've done a whole cabin. You've almost done a complete CD set. You've done the walls, the floors. Everything comes together so that you have something, the whole process that you understand. The floors, schedules, sheets, everything. And we've gotten great feedback from it, great testimonials, stuff like that. Eric Reinholdt is going to get on it, 30 by 40. He does amazing videos, and he's going to learn Revit through it. So you'll be in good company. If you want to go see that, you can see me talk and pitch it, and you can see testimonials, and you can see what all the course is about. You can preview some of it. You can see how it's all laid out. Go to revitrocketship.teachable.com. And then if you decide to buy, and if you put a little coupon, it's 20. If you put in 25, just the numbers 25, the % sign, off, OFF in uppercase, you get 25% off.
Awesome. That's awesome, Al.
Yeah.
So what I was going to talk to you about just under the hood here is I think we should be promoting this, don't you think? Don't you think we should? And I don't mean just the podcast. I mean, hey, why don't we put an ad up on Facebook and get one going around and then share it around?
We definitely could. I don't know if we should wait until some of the other people start promoting it too, who we're in talks with and stuff like that. So I don't know if you want to do it before them.
Well, I really like that you have a little video, a little professionally made video that kind of teaches that. I just think it would be great. You don't have to throw a lot of dollars at it. I'm serious. You could throw like $5 at it and you reach thousands of people. It's pretty amazing the way you can advertise through Facebook at this point. So.
Let's make that decision.
Unless you're a Russian bot, and then you're in trouble.
The other thing that I added that I think is cool, because we learned this through teaching, is that, okay, not only do you learn by you watch the videos and then you do the exercise, right? And then you create this thing at the end. Then you need to go and you need to make your own project. And sometimes people are like, okay, what do I do now? So I made even more videos that at first I made for school and then kind of adapted. Like, okay, you're starting your own project. Let's think about now, start this way, do this, don't forget about this. Here's some roof ideas. And I read the feedbacks from CU. They love those. They thought that those were great. And then we give you our template. So in that is our template, our residential template, so that you can start off and literally we call that the lift, so that you're ready to put in things, everything's laid out for you, and all that. And then we ask some people, well, are you concerned that this is not a commercial level thing? It's residential to start with. I asked some people who took it. I go, did that scare you? And they go, absolutely not. One, because apparently people have taken multiple things, and the stuff out there is pretty terrible.
Multiple Revit training courses.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. I have taken them. They're terrible.
Yeah. And then two, fundamentally, it's all the same. So, like, fundamentally, when you know how to do a wall, then you can, and you know how to change a wall, you can change a wall. And then you get this whole comprehensive thing, and it's not this big, scary thing, and then you know all the principles and the philosophy. And then I go into every section, I talk about the philosophy of why we're doing this way, so that you can think about that when you're doing something on your own. And then they're like, then you can just apply it to your bigger stuff. So it's what we did, but they reinforced our philosophy, which is start simple, start small, fundamental principles, and build up from there. So if you like it, again, that's revitrocketship.teachable.com.
Quick question here. So let's say somebody's watching one of the videos. I think one of the things that people, we had a couple gals come in here, fly out here from New York because they wanted to be able to ask us questions in person. And then I just met with another lady about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, just to help her understand like how I run social media. Yeah. And how to make things go viral and little tips and tricks and stuff like that. And I said, there's a video I could point you to, and she said, well, I'm the kind of person that just needs to ask people questions in person. So is there a way that they can do that in the videos? I'm curious myself. Like, let's say they watch a video, can they comment and then does a question go to you, or is that not? Well,
it's hilarious that you asked, because I literally don't think you even know about this.
That's why I'm asking.
But it's good. I'm glad. Yes, you can comment, and then people are going to respond back. But then also there's different levels that you can buy this course. So you can just buy the course, watch the videos, put on comments, right? And you can do it like, okay, lump sum, I'm just going to pay. Or you can pay in monthly periods, right? Or you can get the VIP access. And the VIP access is basically we give you more videos that we made in our firm for like checking CD sets, checking schematic design sets, all that. Do you see that at the bottom? Are you scrolling all the way down?
Yep.
Plus you get an hour with me to ask anything that you want. Phone call, Skype, whatever.
That's awesome.
Plus 2 hours with our guys. And our guys do most of the work. So you might even want to substitute the hour with me for another hour with those guys. They can help you fix up a model. They can help set up your title block. They can help, whatever. Just so it happens all the time. One of those girls just called Jason up and said, hey, how do I do this? He's like, do this. And then it just solved 4 hours.
Awesome. Well, I just think that's another. So, yeah, I'm glad I don't know anything.
I'm glad you asked the question.
Because I think that's a pertinent. It's good that I didn't know anything, because I think then I can come at it and be a newbie and say, that's
this?
That's a concern 100%. So, yeah, check it out. Go to revitrocketship.teachable.com.
Awesome. Okay. Now we're on to our next segment. Last time Lance wasn't here, and it was amazing.
It was so good. I actually listened to the podcast. So I cut the podcast Monday. Yeah, it was Memorial Day. Posted it around and pushed it and promoted it, and then listened to it on the way to work on Tuesday morning. And it was good. I thought Alex did a great job, and thanks again to Justin Media for stepping in. It was hilarious. It was very well done, and he even managed. So I do the production work for all of the podcasts and everything with the equipment and all that kind of stuff. He even managed to put in nice big pauses so I could cut it up in like 15 minutes, and it was published. It was great.
Wouldn't even think I
can't believe he can do my job.
I know. Except I didn't cut anything, and you can keep doing that. Thank you. So last time it was Q&A from the Entree Architect community. They sent in a whole bunch of people, Adam Mayberry, Mark LePage, all that other stuff. And I just answered questions. So now this little thing, I picked a couple ones that I thought would be pertinent, and now it's Al questions Lance. So someone from the internet called Alex Gore sent in a question.
Wow, who's that guy?
Knows.
I know Al Gore, but Alex Gore is like what?
Yeah, way too long. Like 2 extra letters. Yeah. Cut it out. How do you put up with Alex and at the same time drink?
You know what? I've been pretty good lately. I drink a lot of water. I drink a lot of water now, but I still love some wine from time to time. So how do I put up with Alex and at the same time drink? Alex only has a few times where he's a little abrasive or asks a question in a weird way or something, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? But I think what helps, honestly, just for putting up with anybody. So this is more of like a bigger question, I think, of like, how do you? Because everybody has their moments. Everybody has their, and I think one of the things Alex said was, well, what's behind the facade? What's behind like the initial way you think about this person? Like, is that person a giver, and are they really there to help you and support you and all that kind of stuff? Alex obviously is. But what I do is I make sure and meditate at least 10 minutes in the morning. It is so critical. I cannot recommend Headspace enough, because especially if you are a business owner or somebody who is dealing with a lot of different people, a lot of emails, a lot of tasks, raising a family, all of those types of things. If you have a million things coming at you a day, there's going to be some negative stuff. And what Headspace does and what meditation allows you to do is, the one I really like to do the most, there's a bunch of different series that you can do, and the one I do the most is that anxiety. Because I have anxiety for things going wrong with the city. Maybe there's a client who's really unhappy with us. Stuff
49 million kids.
49 million kids. The weeds that overtake my garden. Just stuff breaking in the house. All kinds of stuff like that, right?
Chickens getting ruthlessly murdered.
Twice. We were completely out of chickens now.
Oh, man.
Just so you know. We're giving up for this year on chickens. Next year, we're back at it. What's amazing is you train your mind to have, like, all these negative things will come at you, and what you do is you kind of virtually in your mind you face it and you say, I see you, and now and I see you, and then you dismiss it. So you acknowledge it, you don't run away from it, and by acknowledging it, then you dismiss it sort of just by virtue, like it needs to be seen. There's sort of like these little things that they need attention. So you go, okay, here's your attention, negative thing, and now I'm done with it. You don't dwell on it.
Well, instead of immediately when you said that, I had the Lord of the Rings scene. You shall not pass, and I feel like that's where people like put their line in the sand. Yep. And say, like, I'm going to confront this. I'm going to be outraged. I'm going to be whatever. I'm going to
confront this, and then it's literally what you just said. You shall not pass. But in fact, what you need to say is, I see you. You shall pass. And that's it. And that's it. So it helps me be much more calm.
You shall pass.
And it helps me sleep at night too, because that's the other thing is, your brain. It's like two different ways of this happening is, okay, you're in the shower, you have awesome ideas, right? You have
all the time.
Or maybe the anxiety ideas come up and you're like, shoot, I got to worry about this thing. Or you're going to bed and then your brain it's starting to shut off, and then all of a sudden, like, there are subconscious things that come up. But so it allows you to, like, okay, I see you, subconscious thing that's giving me anxiety, but then I acknowledge you, and then it goes away, and then you can fall asleep.
I had that last night. I looked at an email right before I went to bed.
Oh,
I don't know
terrible.
why I do
just
this.
The worst thing.
I don't know why. And it was some contractor upset. And I literally just laughed at it. It's like, I'm not letting this affect me one bit.
So that's how I do it. I've recommended it, I think, half a dozen times in this podcast. Go get the Headspace app. Check it out. Try it out. You can do it for 30 days for free. It is life-changing. Just 10 minutes in the morning, giving yourself that time and that freedom. All by just sit there and zen out and do that, and I promise you it'll pay off tenfold, 100%. You don't even have to be into it like in a spiritual, religious way. I just think as human beings you have to get to that level of being able to handle all of these things coming at you.
You know what? So I'm going to give you some unsolicited advice because you love it.
It's the best.
Lance hates it. Everyone hates it. I think you need to do that with people too.
What do you mean?
So
Elaborate. Sorry.
A person that pissed you off, contract, whatever, right? They come in your instead of this person did this, instead of ratcheting up the ego, which ratchets up the stress, which because you already have the solution for it. You shall pass.
Yes.
I'm not going to let you affect me. I'm not going to let you ruin my day. Stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that sort of happened, and I won't go into detail this last week, but I feel like that's what it allowed me to do is when they came in and I said what I needed to say, and then after that I was like, okay, got it off my chest. See, I never had any closure. I think there's something to it about closure. It's not about winning a battle or anything, but it's at least being able to say like, hey, why did this happen? Like, I emailed you guys, there was no email back or anything like that, and you're done. It's just over with.
And this is great to talk about. Because, someone came in, Lance wasn't happy because this guy was not a nice person, whatever. But I think, let's do a role play. Come in, you're pissed at me because I pissed you off, right?
Yep.
And then your meditation thing, I think, is like, it's scalable, right? It's scalable, it's fractal, so that instead of saying something like snarky or whatever, it's, oh, that shall pass. And then you could literally then all of a sudden, like, now communication happens like, hey, what happened there? Like, and I would have been fine, like, man, hey guys, I'm happy that you're, in our office talking, but last time was a really crappy meeting. And you came off, from my perception, terrible.
Just awful.
What was up with that?
Yeah.
And I think that would have been a great discussion. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because, you know what I mean?
Clear the air, man.
Yeah.
I love clearing the air. Just calling a spade for what it is. Like, let's go right at it. We don't have to get angry or anything like that, but just like tell me what's going on. People need to get stuff off their chest. Yeah. It is so critical just for you to heal as a human being.
Yeah. But the key is your insight of that fundamental, like, if you're going to have that honest conversation, which you should, because that's attacking the problem head on, you need to come at it from a clear perspective.
Sure.
So you have to have you can't have the you shall not pass.
You shall not pass. Yep. You shall pass.
You shall pass.
I like it.
You shall pass.
I want to meme that now. That's hilarious. Yeah.
Oh, so that could be so many memes. That guy.
So there you go. Do you know how good I am about... So let's talk about drinking a little bit. You know how good I am lately?
At drinking?
Or just a glass of wine, and then I follow it up with water, and I'm like, wow. And then I'm just like, great. Yeah.
That is a good idea.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Second question. From Mark LePage. Never heard of that guy before. So
who is he?
Productivity. How do you get it all done?
I get asked this question quite a bit because, and then I heard Alex's answer to the question, and I got to talk about it because I thought it was a very slick politician-like answer. Because he goes, well, I don't ever feel like I get enough done.
I don't, though.
And I know you do, and that's actually it's actually the truth. But I mean, it's kind of like a politician always answers the question with like a little bit of humble, like a good one does a little it's sort of like a humble brag,
Yeah.
So it was.
I wish I had a good example because there's so many. They do that all the time.
Exactly. Like whatever, it doesn't matter. But so I also feel the same way Alex does. Is I go, I actually don't think I get all that kind of stuff done. And my wife tells me all the time, she's like, you're a machine. She's like, this is insane. Even like people, that I where I do this social media work, they're like, oh my God, you are a machine. They literally call me like the meme machine. And what it boils down to for me is, so maybe I am productive, very productive is, I have to schedule every single thing. I'm not joking. Like I in the morning I have a specific routine that I do. The meditation is a big part of that. But then even meetings and phone calls, all the way down to even today I have to go take my kids to my kids. They have a little business called Two Bros Who Mow, And so I told my wife, please schedule that at 1 p.m. Schedule it, put it in my calendar so then I know what I have to do and work around that. So a lot of it takes discipline, even down to our whole month of June for weekends is planned out. I'm not joking. They're they're even scheduled for the hikes we're going on in Rocky Mountain National Park. My wife scheduled it, and she does the same thing with her. Like, so we're even scheduling personally stuff. But a lot of people might think that's anal, but discipline equals freedom, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I think it comes down to is how, even if you're, it doesn't. So some people are morning people, and I'm a morning person, and so Alex is now too, since he had a child, and so there's that. Half of the people are like, "Well, you got to be a morning person to get it done." Fair enough. And then the other half of people are like, "Well, I get most of my stuff done as a night owl." Fair enough. I think either way, you have to have some discipline in your schedule.
And then I know you do this too. Let's say you don't have everything scheduled out on the weekends, because I had to okay, how do I get stuff done? And it's simply I just ask myself, hey, what needs to be done, and then do it. And you build up to that. So it's like, oh, I need to mow the lawn. I should do that. I need to fix my fence. I should do that. I need to, and then just keep doing stuff. That's how you get stuff done.
And then,
sounds dumb.
And then I think you and I both do this in a different way. So I just started doing this because I finally had to. Two different things. One thing is I have a list. So I use the Notes app constantly in my iPhone, and I change the date every week. So every Monday I change the date, and it's called to do week blah blah blah, and it's got like the date on there, right? Yeah. And then I have 3 different things like volunteer work, political stuff, and then professional stuff. Or personal, political, professional. I have 3 different categories. PPP, the triple P's, yeah. And then I have my little list, and it used to overwhelm me, but now I've gotten to the point where I'm totally used to it, and it actually helps me. And I go, because there's so many. If you're juggling 37 balls, I'm not joking, because this is a reality of somebody, you and I, who do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of people. Yeah,
a lot of people do that. So if you're juggling 97 balls, you have to be able to keep track of the balls, right? Because you'll forget about a few. I'm sorry, and then you'll drop them.
Well, like the contractor last night, dropped the ball literally on something, and just all pissed and like. What do you mean? We're juggling 49 things, and one thing we forgot about and you didn't tell me about for 2 months? Yep. If it was that important, you kind of dropped the ball too? This shall pass, man.
Yep. And then there's emails. So I've heard one of our clients works at a Fortune 50 firm, I think, like that. And he told me he doesn't even look at his professional email anymore. And it got me thinking about my emails. So I think Alex is also in the same boat. Like, I probably have 6 to 8 different email addresses at this point, and they're all for these different organizations and stuff that I do, including F9, all of our other little companies and everything like that. What I started to do was I run all our emails through Gmail. I started to star emails that I had to get to. So what I did, and this kind of plays into the meditation thing. So I don't know if you use this feature, but that's the only way I can keep track of important emails anymore, because there's so many of them. You do? Okay, good.
I star because it's like, come back to this one.
Yep, come back to this one. And then so like what'll happen is, let's say I'll get an email today. Our rule of thumb is 24 hours. You got to get back to somebody. Yep. So I will, if I know I can't get to it that day, or even if it's just something I have to get back to, I just star it. Yep. And then once I get back to it, unstar. But I don't try to organize the emails. I think when you get to a point where you are getting, when you're getting several dozen emails a day at different addresses for different things, I think it's just about impossible, unless you have a personal assistant, to put them in all the different categories. When we first started the firm, I did that. And even when I took over in a different position, like the gal that I took over with, she's like, oh yeah, I categorize all these emails. I tried it for like a week, and I was like, this is insanity. Why would I do this? Who cares? Who gives a crap? As long as they're all archived at some point, it doesn't matter.
Yep. No, I think that's great. Okay, last question.
Last one.
What is your favorite takeaway, or I'll just read it. Your favorite takeaway from the social media world. And this is what I'm trying to get at, is that you're heavily in the social media world. You promote different things. For architects, what's a takeaway that you've learned from this different world that you can bring back to this world?
All of a sudden, we have become our own media. It is so powerful. I just can't express how many times Alex and I have put out an idea like the Amazon project, put out an idea like the tiny houses, put out a bunch of different various things, doomsday houses. You have the ability to all of a sudden we all have our own megaphone. And if you can harness it, even the trolls you're in your favor. If you can get a thick enough skin to where you recognize like, oh, every time this troll comments, it just makes our reach bigger. So how do you use those negative comments and turn them into a positive way? You know, maybe you say like, let's say you're promoting a new development that you're doing, and there's some anti-development trolls that are in the comments or something like that. Instead of just going back and trying to argue with them, what I like to do is I like to comment on their crappy comment with something like positive, like, check out this awesome rendering. If you don't like that, check out this other awesome rendering. You know what I mean? And you just keep them going and stay positive.
You're feeding the trolls but with positivity.
With positivity, and it works so well. It just helps your reach. So if you're a small business owner, I don't care what kind of business you have, or if you're an entrepreneur or even a student, if you can use social media and really hone in that and understand that you are your own newspaper, you are your own media outlet, you can get into the actual mainstream media, and then it only helps you and pushes your message and puts you out there. So it's just super self-empowering. And I know a lot of people, especially architects, are like introverts. So, but that's good. That's okay, because there's like a lot of people on the internet are introverts. And then eventually, yes, they get off Facebook or they get off Twitter and they go out in the world and they do things, meet a client and stuff like that. Yes, I mean, right. That's like the leap you got to make, right? Yeah. But all of a sudden, like as an introvert, you have a voice. Like you don't have to leave your house. You don't have to leave your office. You can still get your name out there. And then eventually, if you do flip from introvert to extrovert, that's where you're like, get off the keyboard, get out there. Go do stuff like promote pavilions, work with the city to try to do special stuff for them, where it's like a public-private partnership, like we did when we showcased the tiny house, or we did those like in the alley, stuff like that. So that's my favorite takeaway is just you have a megaphone now. It's fantastic,
and it can be so simple. It doesn't need to be a profound anything, right? So one example that I saw recently, I know Mark LePage has an architecture firm, right? And he just started posting pictures, and I don't even know when these were built, of just the kitchens that he's done. And I was like, man, these are good kitchens. Like, holy cow. And it was, I don't know, it was probably coordinated because he's a smart guy. But you could go back through your archive. So this is something actionable that you could do. You could find a theme, because it doesn't even have to be a whole new project. You could find like all exteriors. Just start posting pictures of exteriors. And guess what? All architects like to look at architecture.
Yeah.
So, and everyone likes to pin. Everyone likes to house things. So, point of action in today's podcast, I think the best thing you can do is decide one thing that you're going to post 10 things about and see where it goes. I bet you'll help out.
Yep. And so back to the troll part. So let's say you post a picture of like a house you did and you're super proud of it, but the troll comes in and they criticize
Fugly.
It. Right?
That's what they'll say.
Yeah, exactly. Don't feed into their negativity. Feed them with positivity and use them to your advantage. Like, get them to react again in a negative way. Fine. Yeah. But if you are just positive, and they keep going back and forth, all it does is enable your reach. Like, your reach gets bigger because more people comment on it. Like, there is something to this, but and don't take it personally, because like, that person, I guarantee you, would not say that to your face. That's like one of the negative parts about social media is like Twitter is just that people are arguing back and forth all day long. Like you follow any of these guys like Stefan Molyneux, and they're just going back and forth. But so just make sure you have a thick skin, because it's not a personal thing. If they were in front of you face to face, absolutely 100% different person. I'm convinced.
Right, and it's just like think about some opinions honestly don't matter. And that's okay. So when people first watch the UFC, and this is what's hilarious, like these are the best fighters in the world, top athletes in the world. Oh, why don't they just do this? You've heard that. And in football too, why don't you do
that? Quarterback couches, or what is it called? Armchair quarterback.
Exactly. All that. And when you're in the sport or in architecture, you'll be like, holy cow, you have no idea what you're talking about. This is crazy. Does the UFC fighter get off, goes and like, oh, I couldn't do an arm bar because no, that person doesn't know anything. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about them. Exactly. Yep. There you have it. that's it. That's my thing. What do I got to talk about? Lance the Contractor?
Yeah.
So thank you for the questions, Alex Gore. Alex Gore, thank you for the questions, guy. What a guy. Yeah, it's weird you share the same name as Al Gore. He's a character. So, Lance the Contractor. That's the last thing before we get into Nick Reed's is finally got into the contractor's driver's seat. I'm trying to get a copy of my test score because I lost it, getting the licensure shored up with the city. But the most exciting part is I'm finally contacting all of the subcontractors. I should get through the rest of my list today, which is super exciting. So we'll get real numbers back on the development. I will be happy to share them with people in a general way on the podcast and see where we're at, tell you the pluses, the minuses. Some of the most interesting things that I found out are the bigger companies. So some of these roofing companies I've been contacting is and this is a criticism, is that like why isn't there an email? I don't even care if it's info@roofingguy.com. How the heck there isn't an email on these professionally done websites? But then I go to like the drywall websites or the stucco websites, and they're crappily done. Like you can tell, but who cares? Because at least I found the website. Yeah. It is clip art. I'm not joking. At least I found the website, and at least they had the smarts to put a freaking email on there, and those guys were the quickest to respond. So the guys with the emails on their websites, I could just click, fill out my email, send it to them. Couple of them got back to me within minutes. I mean, not joking, minutes. So if you have a website, and like we have it in two different ways. I think we've covered all of our bases. Is we have these little forms that you fill out. Those are good. I think you do. Some people do want to just fill out the form. It's easier. Maybe they're on a tablet. Maybe they don't want to switch back to their Gmail app or anything like that. But for God's sakes, put your email address on there, because it is. Some people want to contact you in that way, because some people might be sending out a bunch of similar kind of emails. Maybe they're copying and pasting, all that kind of stuff. Like, let's just get it done. Why is this an issue? It's the internet.
It's 2018. I mean, it's hard for you to not be doing business that way. And I would argue that, hey, maybe we're behind the times, and we should have there should literally be oh, I just want to hire you and pay for some hours. And that should be a button. It should be that easy, because that's where it's going, right? So, man, spot on with that.
Yeah, so I'll keep you updated with that. And here comes Nick with Nick Reed's.
Hello, best friends. I hope you all had a great week this week. A reading. Architects have been asleep. The airplane shows us that a problem stated finds its solution. To wish to fly like a bird is to state the problem badly. And Adder's bat never left the ground. To invent a flying machine, having in mind nothing alien to pure mechanics. That is to say, to search for a means of suspension in the air and a means of propulsion, was to put the problem properly. In less than 10 years, the whole world could fly. Le Corbusier, towards a new architecture. Alexa, play Woo-Ha. Toodles.
I think that's what it's called, Woo-Ha.
Woo-Ha.
Buster
Got you all in check.
Yeah.
So
that was deep.
That was deep. And I think a lot of people, when you're aware, is that if you spend more time defining the problem and the question, and this is what Miedema and I kind of talked about. I can't remember what question it was, but investigating, asking, and the podcast before, asking questions of the client, getting them on board, and figuring out what the real issue. The real issue isn't oh, how do we fly like a bird? Well, that didn't work out, But if you just state it how do we use forces? How do we use propulsion? It doesn't matter what the answer is. What is the root? What is the principle? What is the boiling down? That's where the gold comes.
Absolutely. So there's a book I would recommend that trains you for this, and it's called Stefan Molyneux's The Art of the Argument. It's not even about argument. What's beautiful about that book is that he says over and over again, states look, the art of the argument, what he means by argument is it's the discussion, it's the discovery, right? And the only way you get there is if you boil down the definition of what you're talking about. So what is the definition of what we're trying to accomplish with, a tenant finish or a new house or this bathroom? Like, what are we trying to do? Boil it down, and then once you boil it down, the truth reveals itself, and the truth in the design reveals itself. Like it's a form function thing, right?
Yep. And obviously where he's coming from is the more political side, but which is true there.
Sort of like,
it's
but
true here.
It's a social too. It's a social cultural take on it,
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with that. Okay, awesome. I think next we have, we'll bring in the guys for A.R.E. Jeopardy.
All right.
Okay, here we go. First question. Where should the vapor barrier be placed in the wall construction in a cooling climate such as Midland, Texas? So Midland is hot, so it's a cooling climate for the inside, right? A, on the exterior side of the thermal envelope. B, on the interior side of the thermal envelope. C, a vapor barrier is not needed. D, on both the interior and exterior side of the thermal envelope.
This is a tricky one. I think this will be a very tricky one.
What? Okay. A, on the exterior side of the thermal envelope. B, on the interior side of the thermal envelope. C, the vapor barrier is not needed. D, on both the interior and exterior side of the thermal envelope. What do we got? We got B. The answer is A.
On the exterior side of the thermal envelope. Al, will you elaborate for everybody why that is true?
Because you want it on the warm side. So you want it on the so if you're cooling on the
inside.
Yep, inside. You want it on the warm side.
Yep. So then like in like North Dakota, right? The warm side is the inside, so therefore it should be on the inside.
Yep. And then here's the tricky part is that in Colorado, like it's both warm and cool. And there are some builders that are refusing to even put one on there because they say like it traps, it leads to litigation and all that other stuff.
Yep. So our favorite contractor, Brian Tinker Homes, he said they did it for a while. Yep. Like in the early 2000s, late 90s, kind of when that started to sweep the nation, so to speak, right? But then they quit doing it because they started having some problems. So Colorado is one of the few places where like you're not, and plus it's dry. So and then I asked actually the builder of my house, and he said the paint counts because it counts as a Class C vapor retardant. Like if it's applied correctly in the right way. So I go, okay, no vapor barrier. So there's no vapor barrier in my house, and so far no problems.
Steve's guys said the same things that Brian's guys said.
That they tried it. Yep, and then they got in trouble. So there you go. We used to spec it, just so you guys know too. We don't anymore.
Question 2. A building site is 10,000 square feet. The footprint of the building on the site is 1,000 square feet. What is the FAR, floor area ratio, for the site in this instance? A, 0.1, B, 1, C, 10, D, 100.
You will get FAR questions.
A, 0.1, B... Oh, sorry. So the building site is
the question, sir.
Building site is 10,000 square feet. Footprint of the building itself is 1,000. What is the FAR of the site?
We can't have dead air.
A, 0.1, B, 1, C, 10, D, 100.
It's an interesting way of putting it. Tricky man. What do we got?
A. Everyone is correct.
Everybody's correct. Everybody's tied.
It's 0.1. So let's just think like a normal FAR is 2. So if you have 10,000 square feet of a site, that means you can have 20, double, right? So this one in the instance is a tenth. So 0.1. You could do, but it doesn't matter the stories because it's 1,000 square foot. This could be in this scenario, it could be 10 stories of 100 square foot,
Tied? So we're all tied at 1?
We're all tied.
All right, here we go. Number 3, what is a compound that is used to seal the joint between two materials or surfaces known as A, mastic, B, caulking, C, sealant, D, filler? Okay. What is a compound that is used to seal the joint between two materials or surfaces known as A, mastic, B, caulking, C, sealant, D, filler? And I can repeat it a third time if necessary.
Go with your gut.
Yeah, go with your gut.
Go with your gut.
We got him.
I think that's what I learned to do in the end, was reread the question, eliminate like anything that I think they're trying to fool me, and then just go with your gut.
Just go with your gut.
You've been doing this for 10 years.
Yep. All right, we got B, C, and B. The correct answer is B.
Woo!
Caulking. It's specific, exactly. And I think, exactly. So I think, here's the thing is, you could argue that all 4 of them are correct, right? So I don't know. You just got to go with your gut, and maybe it's like the most common way of thinking about it is caulking. Yeah. All right, number 4. What does in situ mean? A, in place, B, in seat, C, in order, D, involuntary. What does the term in situ mean? A, in place, B, in seat, C, in order, D, involuntary. Now, this is like a question you would get in like a first year architecture school, right? Second, something like that. It's like old school.
I didn't see the answer.
Old school. All right, what do we got? You guys ready? We have A, C, and C. Correct answer is A! In place. Tip of the hat, sir. Tip of the hat.
Hey, going back to number 3. So mastic would be connecting. Caulking would be to seal the joint. A sealant would be over something on the top of it. This is my opinion only.
Oh, that's a good point.
And then D, filler, would be not to seal the joint, but just to fill it.
To fill it. So maybe like a backer rod.
Exactly.
In a brick situation.
Yep.
Brick joint.
All right, thanks, guys.
That's it.
So I only have one thing. If you want to learn Revit or are not that proficient, go ahead and go to RevitRocketship.com. RevitRocketship.teachable.com and use 25% off OFF, and you'll get 25% off. And that's, a course from us, so we think you'll like it.
I have a surprise little offer. If you would like us to share, so we have about 1,000 followers on our Facebook page at F9 Productions. If you haven't liked it already, go like it, please. And then you can message the page, and if there's something you want us to share from your page, we would share it through our page, which we're happy to do and help promote you a little bit. And then we can retweet stuff too. So check it out, and then have a great week.